Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to show you a game I've played recently. It was a team match in the second league of the Dutch competition. I played at board 7. I don't want to spoil the result for you, but my team won with 6.5 to 1.5. So let's start off. My opponent started with e4. I was playing the black pieces. And my response is the Scandinavian defense, the center counter gambit, also known as. So I played d5. Okay. From here on it's just a little bit standard. I like the knight f6 lines, so that's what I played. And my opponent plays d4. Well, here are a couple of options. For example, I can play the move knight captures d5 or queen captures d5 and get in almost standard lines, or I could choose the bishop to g4 lines, which is the Portuguese gambit, and that is my choice here. Okay, I've highlighted here the three moves white actually has, since white don't want to move the queen early on. To keep a pawn up, white can play the move f3, but it weakens the pawn structure at king side, so most players wouldn't play that. My opponent didn't either, so he played the move knight to f3. From here on it's just a little bit of theory, so queen captures on d5, bishop e2, knight to c6, both sides castle, and here white has two moves which are fairly standard to play. Kicking the queen away from the nice square d5, which is knight to c3, which is a development move, or the move pawn to c4 and starting an early pawn push on the queen side of the board. Both are good options for white, but my opponent wanted to play a little bit safe here, which is, to my opinion, just a little weak move. He played the move c3. Okay, this is a difficult position already for white, and black has to keep the initiative going. So my move here is queen to h5, trying to start a kingside attack. And my opponent responded with the natural move pawn to h3. My opponent here would have preferred, I guess, that I moved my bishop, either taking on f3 or moving it back, so he would get a nice bishop on f3 and a nice position after that. I would lose my initiative because of that, and since I like to play on the initiative, I wasn't sure about moving my bishop, so I didn't. I thought about just keeping the initiative going, and the most active move here is pawn to e5. Okay, now white can of course capture on g4, and as I have highlighted, my next move would be knight to g4, recapture, and after that probably something like pawn to e4, kicking the knight and trying to checkmate my opponent. Well, this isn't perfectly accurate, but it's getting close, and my opponent is under heavy pressure after this, so he was a little bit scared about that and he didn't take on g4. He played the move knight b to d2, developing his knight to probably the only square it can move to and has to move to, so that's fine. And still in this position I didn't want to move my bishop on g4. I wanted to complete my development and keep the attack going. And with that thought, there's only one move to play, which is bishop to e6. At this stage, black has developed completely. The rooks are connected, so losing a bishop for a pawn shouldn't be that bad. Well, actually it is, because after which my opponent played captures on g4 and I recapture with my knight, my opponent should have played knight to e4, creating a blockade for my e-pawn, so I can't push it. Well, he didn't play that. He played a move which almost immediately equalizes. He played the move knight to h4, probably expecting me to capture his knight on h4, so he can capture on g4 with his bishop, with check, and after that probably move his bishop back to h3 and have a comfortable position with a piece up. But black here has a very nice move. It's the very best according to the engine, and I played it. It was the move f5, just defending my knight on g4. Now, why is this the best move? Actually, it's quite easy, because if white has the chance to get pieces to the king's side and defend, then my position wouldn't be so great anymore. So this move actually stops my opponent from getting pieces to help his king out. Well, my opponent here continues still capturing on g4, so I recapture, and now my opponent plays d5, which is the biggest mistake of all. And in a couple of moves you will see why. Everything from now on is played at least in the top 3 moves according to the engine. Queen captures on h4, g3, queen to h3, knight to e4, knight to e7, bishop to g5, king b8, which is a very accurate move, because my opponent otherwise would have a chance to play knight captures on d6 with check. And now there's no check, so this is a lot better for me, because now after knight captures d6 I have rook captures d6, and after moves like bishop captures on e7, rook to h6, bishop to h4, and the move g5, which would regain the piece. So my opponent here played the move c4, trying to still get his pawns going on the queen side, and I try the same on the king side, so I play h6. Also asking the bishop on g5 what it wants to do. Well, the bishop captures on e7, I recapture, and now my opponent plays the move f3, which also means that actually both players have both rooks, have a queen, I have a bishop versus a knight, but I also have 7 pawns versus 6 of my opponent. So actually in this position I'm a pawn up. Okay, well, I played h5, still trying to get more pawns up the board, and my opponent plays rook to f2, trying to trap my queen. I play g captures on f3, queen captures on f3, and here I have a choice which rook to move to the f file and harass the queen. I played the h rook, my opponent backs out of it with the queen to g2, and here I was calculating, and the easiest way to get at least an equal position or slightly better for black is just to trade queens and as much material as possible. So that's what is happening here. After queen captures, king captures on g2, rook captures on f2, king captures on f2, rook to f8, king goes back to g2, and here the move h4. Well, h4 only suggests that after the pawn here is captured, that the nice square f4 becomes available for my rook. So my opponent didn't capture, he actually played here the rook to e1, trying to activate his last inactive piece, which is okay, but his rook would of course be better